Hello and welcome back to the Bright Founders Talk podcast from Temi. Temi is an international software development company that designs, builds and delivers software for sustainable businesses and promising startups. My name is Chris and today's guest is someone who is not only well versed in several areas of business ranging from sales to mentoring, but is also now a founder and CEO of SampleLead. Dor Vardi, welcome to the podcast. How are you doing today?
Great, thanks for having me.
Excellent, wonderful. As always, some lighthearted questions just to get started. In your opinion, what makes a good boss?
I think that maybe the number one priority for a good boss is to find the strength of each and every one of his employees and try and put them in that point where they work around something that they enjoy, they're passionate about, they feel that they're good at. There's different angles for every type of job.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that people get the most out of them when they're enjoying what they're doing and they're not constantly confronting challenges in areas that they don't want to work in. So even if somebody is more like a data-driven person, or somebody also likes to work like on his own silo and report when he's done, you need to find those different personalities within every employee and try to give them the environment to get the most out of them. When people are happy, they're doing a much better job.
Is that something that you learned yourself personally in terms of like managers you had in the past or leaders you had in the past? They would sort of look at what you personally, how you are motivated or something like that.
I think that I kind of learned it somewhere in the hard way. Basically, before starting my entrepreneurship career, I spent almost 6 years in the military, where the approach is exactly the opposite. There's challenges and you need to face them. Doesn't matter if you like it or you don't like it, you just need to face it, it's a good tool when you're serving in the military, but it's definitely not working in the personal life, and definitely not the best way to motivate the employees. And also, this is something that like each and every one of us, we have those things that we tend to like doing, the parts about our job that we're more excited about.
Yeah.
And as we grew and we had more employees and I had more experience around that, it became one of the most obvious things that you don't need. I'm not here to teach people lessons. I'm trying to help them move forward, help me move forward, and like work together towards the same goal, basically.
Interesting. What do you do? The second question, what do you do to unwind or relax after a busy day?
I would say that unfortunately, I don't feel like that it's a real part of my day. Like I don't think that I am ever relaxed. I think that's also like there's a very strong drive, and there's nothing that you're very like extremely satisfied about. Mm-hmm. Every milestone that you achieve, the immediate thing that happens is that you're looking forward. I think it's a benefit sometimes. But when I remind myself that I can't continue going in that pace forever, I really enjoy basically unwinding with like sport activities, mostly surfing if I have the opportunity, traveling a bit, but just to do something that is completely different and doesn't allow me to use my phone or to see any emails coming in while I'm doing that. That's probably the best way.
Yeah, I can't imagine you aren't checking your emails while, I don't know, a 2-foot wave is coming at you. You know, you can't really, you don't have time to think about those trivial things. And the final question then, what did you want to be growing up?
I think it changed over the years, but I think that something that was quite clear for me was that I want to be the owner of my own business.
Right.
Trying to put myself in a leadership position. And also this is something that every time that I had full commitment to other things in my life, it got the most out of me. Like when I'm very, very committed and like I'm emotionally attached to whatever I'm doing, I'm happier and it's easier for me to go to work every day. And this feeling is much stronger ever since I started my entrepreneurship journey and left whatever jobs that I used to do prior to that. The fact that I'm responsible for my own faith gets a lot out of me. And I think this is something that I knew like from an early age.
Interesting. Okay, brilliant. Well, something you touched on already that I wanted to start off with, I think it's quite a unique thing based on all the people we've interviewed for this podcast, because your first experience of the world of work, as you mentioned before, was in the military. And I thought it must have given you like a unique perspective or a unique set of skills to take into business compared to other people who normally go into university. Maybe they do an internship. It's kind of maybe the set way of getting into business. Yours was a little bit different. So how do you think it shaped you?
So first of all, I kind of restarted my career when I was 24. I went to university when I was 25, and I started my first business when I was a student because I didn't have the time. I didn't have the time to wander and think and like test out different things. I spent many years in the army. It was probably the most influential experience that I've had so far. I spent a couple of years in the special forces. I was in training for a couple of years, which is like it's a very selective process where you're constantly being examined. And probably something that I took from that period, and I feel that it's with me every single day, is that it gave me a very strong confidence around my ability to deal with challenges, to deal with the dark side of things that go wrong or don't go your way, and like bad surprises. You can call it resilience in a way. I think this is something that is crucial for every person that is thinking about taking an entrepreneurship journey. Like, we usually read about the success stories around the newspapers, but the reality is very, very far away from that. And until this day, and this is something that I'm like, I think that my specific superpower is that I'm not the smartest and definitely not the prettiest, but I'm very, very good with like dealing with the extreme conditions and like unexpected challenges. And it's something that like it follows me with every step of the way, because the entrepreneurship journey is full of surprises. Most of them are not nice surprises.
You said you were playing around with ideas then. What was the sort of first couple of businesses that you started? Maybe they didn't do well, but what did you go into in the beginning?
So I was working. I was doing sales for a couple of years while I was a student, and then I read the Lean Startup. It was a huge influence, and I felt like, okay, like the main thing that I need to do is just jump into the deep water. It doesn't really matter what I will do, because the first business that I will start, that would be the school or the information that I'm not getting in university that I did at the time. So we took a very simple idea, and the idea was that we were going to go to human resources managers, and in a world where there's the employee gifts and swag and things that you usually get, like a water bottle with your company's logo, that is
right.
the most impersonal thing in the world. We decided, okay, let's give it a flair of personalization. And what we basically took pictures of all the company employees. We had a team of artists that drew them into a very nice picture. We started printing those nice hand-drawn pictures of the employees on different products. Started with like boards to hang on the wall. But as the process, we did like the Lean Startup process by the book. Realized that, okay, people are not that interested in board. They're very interested in coffee mugs. That was the first start. So I was manufacturing the coffee mugs by hand. I was everything in the business: marketing, sales, operations, finance, whatever. And like what we're doing today we're building a startup around outbound, but there's a very there's a line that is connecting between that first experience into whatever we're doing today. So it was a journey that started, and one thing led to another. We learned lessons along the way. I always say that first business was kind of like the lessons that I learned is what is all the things that I want to avoid in my next business. And like it's a wild ride, but also a very interesting experience.
Talking about problems, I saw that you actually started a business during the pandemic, which, for most people was kind of a bad situation. And it seems like you saw this as an opportunity instead of a negative. You saw the positive in that, and you decided to start a company.
So yeah, basically, we were selling personalized coffee mugs. We did that for like 18 months. It went really well. We figured out a very good way to meet customers. We focused mostly on outbound. We had very limited resources, and outbound is the cheapest, but also the hardest. We doubled down on that, and things were going really nicely. We sold more than 30,000 coffee mugs through my LinkedIn chat with zero marketing spend. We worked with like 500 companies here in Israel, and then started working in the US. And for a second there, I thought I'm going to get rich from selling coffee mugs. And then COVID-19 hit, and it was like that. Everything stopped overnight because there were no more employees in the office. So our product wasn't relevant for an unknown period of time. In those days, I asked myself, okay, first of all, I need to figure out a way to pay rent and tuition. This is like life knocking at your door. You don't have that steady job that you get paid from. And I started thinking, okay, like I figured out a very good way to meet companies. Like in the B2B domain, I found a way to get people on meetings around the product. It doesn't really matter the product. In those days, I said, okay, everybody's going to go over the masks and stuff like that. That would be like a crazy red ocean. Let's think about something else. I was walking in this building, and I started thinking about the doorknobs and the fact that people would want to get their employees back to the office space as soon as possible. I'm talking about the first days of the pandemic with no real idea back then. I just created this email that had a big picture of a red button that said panic. And I sent it to the operations managers of the biggest companies here in Israel. And it's a very similar process. Like, okay, I understand that there's a need around something. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to meet as many people from the potential target audience that I'm thinking about to understand if that need is real, if that pain is real. Real equals people are willing to pay for it. And then we came up with this idea of like creating different solutions to open doors in the office space without actually touching the doorknob, doing it with your foot or with like a button that you move your hand around. It was a nice adventure. We did that for a couple of months. Actually, the use case was crazy and pushed us to the next stop in our journey because okay, after a couple of months, we and our potential customers understood together that that's not a real threat around doorknobs. People don't think about it today.
Not really.
But in the first 2 months of COVID, I managed to get 70 face-to-face meetings with the operations managers of the biggest companies here in the country. So in that point, that was another epiphany moment where I said, okay, like something that is mutual between the first and the second business is that our go-to-market strategy is very good. Like we're in a very, very cost-effective way. We're finding the opportunities to speak to people and to present to them our product. Doesn't matter if it's something to not use the door handle or a coffee mug with a hand-drawn picture of the employee. And then we said, okay, maybe that is the actual product. Like maybe that approach that we created, maybe this is something that could be interesting for other companies to use as well. Maybe that would be bigger than those micro products that we were playing with. So our next natural step was, okay, we were very, very good at our go-to-market channel was outbound. We were very, very good at it. So we said, okay, we'll take the knowledge that we gathered here and we will try to help other companies. The next step was to start an agency, basically to give outbound services for other companies that are selling B2B, doing things that are in terms of like target audience that are similar to what we did and helping them with their go-to-market efforts.
And that's SampleLead.
That's SampleLead
1.0.
Minus one.
Okay, it's on the journey. Okay, brilliant. Well, I thought if I can bring that in seems like it's sort of on the journey to SampleLead, because on your website it seems to say in a few places it seems to say spray and pray, and I was wondering, what does that mean, and why do you want to stop that happening?
Well, basically, when I started the SDR as a service agency, I started a service business, but on the course of like 18 months, other than working with 50 companies as an agency. So it's a service business, which is different than what we're doing now, that we're building technology and a product around the methodology that we created. Okay. But when we were an agency, as part of, this is also something that I truly believe in. I think that you need to spend 90% of your time with meeting your market. It doesn't matter if you have a ready product, it doesn't matter. And it's a constant thing. Like I think till this point, I met more than 1,000 teams and spoke to them about their outbound efforts and challenges. So back then we met around 400 teams, and there was something that is constantly, like we constantly heard and seen with, I would say 99% of the teams that we met. The first thing is that outbound is difficult, and it's something that everybody's experiencing. When I'm saying outbound is difficult, it means that this channel of cold emails, cold LinkedIn, cold calling is becoming harder and harder to generate opportunities from. And we started asking ourselves, okay, why? Why is it that hard? And why is it becoming harder as time goes by? And the immediate answer was spray and pray. So spray and pray is like, today outbound equals spray and pray. Spray and pray is the methodology that 99% of the companies are using if you're going to look at different products around that space. So from sales engagement platforms like Outreach and SalesLoft, and prospecting tools like ZoomInfo and LinkedIn Sales Navigator, they're all around supporting that motion of spray and pray. Spray and pray means that going after very big volumes of prospects every month, I'm doing it in an automated manner. That's something that allows me to do it. So I'm sending emails to 10,000 people a month. Because that approach is generic, the engagement rates, the reply rates, and the response rates are very, very low. So I'm basically spraying. Okay, I'm spraying all across, and I'm praying for somebody to reply. And it's like it only works with big volumes of prospects. And it became quite obvious for us that, okay, everybody's struggling. That's a good indicator for a real pain. Okay, now let's take one more layer out of that. They're all doing exactly the same thing, but they're expecting a different results. Okay, they're all going after big volumes, and the reply rates are low, and they're only getting lower. And then the next question was, okay, how can we do something different? What would be the opposite of spraying and praying, for example, if I want to be radical about it? So if spraying and praying means that I'm going automated after big volumes of prospects, the opposite of that would be something that is much more quality oriented in a way, investing more in every prospect, maybe doing it completely manually, but getting the reply rates much, much higher. And we started testing these things out using real customers that we had within our agency. And we started noticing that the effort of transforming from quantity to quality is very beneficial in terms of the bottom line. Okay, so 10% out of 200 and 1% out of 20, it's the same number. Okay, opposite, 1% out of 200 and 10% out of 20. The only difference is that you're not spamming 180 people on the way. And this was that was the spark that pushed us into building SampleLead, which what SampleLead is trying to do is SampleLead is a product in the area of artificial intelligence SDRs. Okay, so who's usually in charge of doing outbound for B2B companies are SDR teams. Some call it in a different way, BDRs, MDRs. They're the ones that are mainly doing spraying and praying. What we're trying to do is to build that function, but the focus of SampleLead is to change the methodology, not only to automate the work of that rep, that employee, but really to change the way that companies are doing outbound, to shift from a quantity-oriented motion to a quality-oriented motion. And this is our main focus, and the entire technology. The biggest challenge that we're building is around finding those quality moments to reach out to prospects in a way that won't feel like spam or an automated campaign.
So how do you go about that then? Because how do you know what's a quality lead, for example? Or how would what would you say your methodology is?
The main idea around it, and this is something that anyone can implement, it's not easy to execute, but the idea is very easy to understand. Okay? When we're doing outbound, the first step is prospecting. Prospecting means that I'm building myself a list of people that should match my ICP. Okay, so I'm a software development company, and my sweet spot is companies that just raised their seed round. So the first step is creating a list of companies that just raised their seed round, and then understanding the decision makers, one of the founders probably within those companies to reach out to. Okay, this is the traditional way of doing that. How are most teams doing it? They're using prospecting tools. Let's take Sales Navigator, for example. So I put in those hard filters, those criterias, looking for companies between 11 to 50 employees that are located in these geographies, and I'm looking for the title CEO. Okay, that's a traditional way of doing outbound and prospecting, creating a list, and after that, figuring out what I'm going to send out to that list. Usually, it's a one-size-fits-all kind of content. What SampleLead is doing is asking a different question. Instead of who's my ICP, I'm asking where does my target audience socially hang out. I'm looking for hints across the web that shows me either personal intent signals. Okay, so for example, I'm selling API security, and I found a CISO of a company that is talking on a podcast about the importance of third-party application securities within his product. That means that he appreciates API security, and he might be definitely open for a conversation around it. Or other signals, like people that are changing their jobs, and companies that are growing, and discussions, and people that are following specific influencers. The idea is that I'm looking for those areas where my target audience socially hangs out. And when I find some kind of an engagement of that sort, then I match the persona to the ICP. First, I find a reason to start a conversation with somebody, a real reason that shows him that I did my homework. And then if he also matches my ICP, then I reach out. We call this process reverse prospecting. Okay, so the first thing that I'm looking for is the reason to talk, and then the criteria of the person, and not vice versa, which is doing a big change in terms of the level of personalization that you can actually reach.
Yeah, I see what you mean. So just, looking at more research into the prospect and maybe trying to find a common ground and then moving on from there, that seems to be something that works a lot better.
100%, but also finding those prospects in the places that they don't use to be found in. Okay.
Okay.
So when I get a message that somebody says on LinkedIn, hey, Dor, hey, it could be, I see it as, hey, first name, I saw that you are the job title at company name, and this is what I want to talk to you about. I know that for a fact, he put in the criteria that match me, which is a CEO of a company, and now he's reaching out. If he finds me in somewhere else, like, hey, you know what? I just listened to you speak on the Bright Founders Talk, and I think that you're doing something super interesting, and I wanna connect with you. Okay?
I see what you mean.
Sales is building relationships. People are buying from people, and this is the most important thing, to show the person on the other side, listen, I want to build a relationship with you. I did some homework. I didn't go in the usual way and found you in a list with 1,000 other prospects that match that criteria.
Just one thing, because you're involved in AI, right? So I thought I'd go to AI and I put the company information, SampleLead, into, the very famous AI system we all know. So I just put it into there, and I thought, okay, what should I ask? And this is what they've come up with. So, if it's a bad question, it's not me, it's AI, or it's my processing. So it says, with AI rapidly evolving, How does SampleLead ensure its technology stays ahead of the curve and continues to deliver cutting-edge solutions for sales development?
So I think the main key is about building the access for unique data sources. That this is the core of our technology. We're bringing to the table a lot of what we call identity resolution capabilities. My co-founder, my CTO, is a data scientist who actually published a few academic research about identifying sentiment and generating influence using text in the social media domain. The main thing is that we built a lot of micro agents that are doing micro processes to create specific types of triggers. This is what's unique about what we're doing. It's a big technological challenge to build those micro agents, but it's definitely a mix of our real domain expertise that we gathered through a lot of trial and error. Before I got my CTO to join us, it started with this idea, okay? And I had the feeling that if I will be able to create a process completely manually, and we're talking about prior the ChatGPT explosion, okay? If I'll be able to create process completely manually, and I'll do it in a repetitive way, and I'll also prove myself that it actually works, we will be able somehow, I didn't really know how at that point, be able to teach a computer how to do it. So SampleLead actually started with building a very, very unique and big data set that we started training our models on. That data set was built manually through a lot of trial and error with real customers that got the same value that our product should be giving, but just in the format of a service. So this gives us quite a big advantage. I also think that it's like technology, like when it comes to AI, the technological moat, as investors like to call it, is fading away in a way, because the access to build AI and to build software is only getting more accessible to more people. But the main thing is like building a specific use case, having a unique approach, and also access to data. And at the end of the day, it's an execution play. And this is what I like. I'm not the tech guy, but I'm definitely the execution guy.
Depends how you implement it. I see. Brilliant. All right. Well, unfortunately, we're just running out of time. So I want to wish you all the best with SampleLead. And again, thank you for your time today. It's been very, very interesting.
It was really nice. And thanks for having me.
A pleasure.